Well, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world today. I'm Tad Bradley from the Kusini collection, along with my colleagues Gretchen and Vanessa, also from Kusini. And we're joined by Mark Butcher, the founder and director and head guide of Imvelo Safari Lodges in Zimbabwe. And today Butch is going to take us through their latest and newest camp in Hwange, Tum Tum Treehouse Lodge. I don't know about all of you, but as a kid, I loved tree houses, and the thought of being able to sleep in a tree house on safari with elephants walking underneath me sounds pretty awesome. So I'm excited to hear more about this new passion project that Butch has been working on for the past almost year, but has been dreaming about for many years before that. So without any further ado, I want to hand it over to Butch to start the presentation on Tum Tum and tell us all about this exciting new camp. Butch, over to you in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe.
Thanks, Ted, and good evening to all of you. It's evening in my time zone anyway. Um, Thanks very much for taking the time to listen here. I know time is precious to you all, so I'll try not to waste any of it. But I really am excited about this latest development we've got going here. We've been dreaming about tree houses or treehouse lodge for many years. It's finally happened, and oh my gosh, it's exceeded my wildest expectations here. It's really coming together nicely. But I'm not going to waste your time just talking about the rooms. I think what's really important here is to understand how these wonderful tree houses and the lodge that we're developing around it fits into a bigger landscape. And that landscape is one that goes to the soul and the heart ethos of what Imvelo is. And that's an ethos of community participation, real wildlife conservation, and an ecotourism model about which we're very proud. I talk about it all the time, but we're actually doing it. And without any further ado, I'm going to take you straight to Hwange National Park. And I think many of you guys who are listening have know it. Some know it better than others. But Hwange is very dear to me, very close to my heart. It's 5,000 square miles, 15,000 square kilometers, 45,000 elephants, and more lions, wild dogs, cheetahs, leopards, and hyenas than any other park in Zimbabwe. But what is interesting about it is we've got 50,000 visitors about per annum. When you compare it, you try and put it in some kind of context, you compare it to a park like Chobe in Botswana, which is Botswana's biggest national park. It's about 2/3 the size of Hwange. It has about 450,000 visitors. So it gives you an idea about what Hwange looks like in terms of tourism. It's much fewer number of tourists, lots of wild spaces, and Hwange done right is an extraordinary safari destination. This next map is a little map of the schematic of how Hwange ties up with Victoria Falls. And all of you know Victoria Falls or know of it if you haven't been there, I doubt. But it's this iconic bucket list natural wonder of the world. And it's also become a hub for the whole of Kaza. This whole vast tourism, wildlife conservation landscape that's 5 countries and 15 national parks. And Victoria Falls is just a short hop from Hwange Park. So most of your trips to our part of the world always start and end out of Victoria Falls. You can see there on that schematic map, you can see the other lodges that are in the Imvelo portfolio. Nahimba up in the north, Jozi in the deep south, Bomani and Camelthorne in the southeast, astride the Ngamo Plains, and Tum Tum sits there about a third of the way down our famous pump run between Bomani and Camelthorne and Jozi Benini. And I'll talk more about that later on and where it sits. But also you can see the railway line there running down from Det down to Ngamo. And we'll talk about that later on. This next map, a little more interesting because I focus in on that southern part of Hwange. This map shows you can see where the wilderness camps are. They're our next door neighbors, and Somalisa as well, the ABC camp. And you can see where Bomani and Camelthorne are. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but it's off on the southeast over there. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my cursor. Yeah, okay. No. All right. It's off on the southeast over there. And on the right-hand side of this map. And if you come down that map along the southern boundary of Hwange, you can see where Tum Tum is. Tum Tum is inside the national park, but only just. It's on the periphery of the park. I'm all for peripheral development. And in this case, in particular, why I'm in favor of it is it means it enables community participation. You're not stuck in the middle of the national park, miles away from any communities. We're right there. We're 2 kilometers from our nearest community. So we're looking forward to some serious community engagement. These are communities that we engaged with previously. but now we're really going to give them some love and show them a lot of socioeconomic development is the catch term. What's also very cool about where it is we're very close to the rhino sanctuaries that we're developing through the Quickie program, the Community Rhino Conservation Initiative. And these are rhinos that are introduced onto community land, owned by the communities, guarded by the communities, and they're benefiting the communities. Cutting edge conservation, community-based conservation stuff. You can see there to the north of Tum Tum, you can see the airstrip marked there. That's the Linkwasha airstrip that we're using currently for our soft opening. But we've already got an airstrip of our own developed near Mandiseka. You can see that Mandiseka is one of the old pans of Hwange, been pumped for more than 50 years. We're developing our own airstrip there. I'm hoping it'll be open before high season next year. All right, so that's where we're all at. So the next, I'm going to take you right to where the Tum Tum story starts. And it starts where we've been dreaming about putting tree houses up in these ancient camel thorns and teak trees. But always been a little bit worried about how we might do that. And the site that we've chosen is overlooking the Tum Tum flay line. And it's an old San word. And the San people are hunter-gatherers that are the original inhabitants of this part of Africa. And we use their name out of respect for that, for their legacy, you know. But one of the big things we always worried about with building tree houses was the effect we might have on these ancient trees. We needed to do it right. We need to be careful with it. And what better way to do that than to invite in the experts? And the experts are from Nelson Tree Houses. I'm here at the site for the new Tum Tum Treehouse Lodge. I've got Daniel and Daryl here from Nelson Treehouse Company in Washington State. And they're designing fantastic tree houses here for this camel thorn teak woodland here. And one of the challenges we're having to deal with is we know there's going to be a lot of elephant here. You can see the rub marks on the side of this tree.
Yeah.
Guys, what do you reckon?
It's the first time we've been in a project where we have to deal with elephants.
Elephants?
It's going to be beautiful. There's a lovely spot. There's going to be a nice watering hole to view all the wildlife. It's going to be phenomenal. We're excited. Very excited.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks so much. Thank you. Thank you. I'm here at the... All right. And for the next couple of weeks after they arrived, we spent our time walking around, looking at these trees, measuring them, scanning them, LiDAR, and trying to figure out which were the best trees and which were the trees that we could use, which were the trees that might be hollow, which were the trees that might break, which were the trees we might damage, and which were the trees that were healthy and would be useful for our project. And we were trying to build 4 tree houses as a starter here. Our dream was to have 4 tree houses up in the trees, and then a couple of rooms on the ground at ground level, perhaps for people who might be a little bit less eager to get up high in the trees, or maybe for people traveling with kids, you know. And they carefully designed a tree house for each of these sites. And because of the configuration, all trees are different. Every tree house is different. Every stairway is different. Every length is different. Every breadth is different. Every roof is different. It was a heck of a lot of work. But my gosh, I'm glad we went to all that effort, because it's really paid off dividends, you know. And this is the layout of the tree houses, the main lodge, and our family tent. This is the one on the ground, and how they align with the water holes in front of us. And back when we started, we named all of these trees basically Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, etc. And the trees we ended up choosing have still favor those letterings, you know. Bravo became Babbler, and Charlie became Crombeck, and Firefinch and Goshawk got their names too. And I'm going to go through these tree houses because that is the main feature of this lodge. I'm just going to, and I'll show you what the family tent's developing into, what the main lodge is developing into. But the most exciting part of this whole project are these tree houses. And I love this little slide. Tad put this together with me. This was the before the trees at the Crombeck treehouse, and that's the after. And what I'm loving is I really feel comfortable that we've built these things in such a fashion that they fit in and they blend in. I had a lot of sleepless nights about these things, you know. We had to use steel for strength. We had to use all kinds of things to cut down maintenance. We had to use glass for views. But I know I can step back 100 or 200 meters from these treehouses today and they've disappeared. I'm really, really pleased about how they blend in and everything that goes with that. That's Crombeck Treehouse. There it is. We've got 2 twin-bedded rooms and 2 king-bedded rooms. Crombeck is one of the twin-bedded rooms, so they're twin double beds, incidentally. This elegant staircase that goes up there, easy to climb, landing halfway if you want to stop and take a breather and have a look around, and lots of deck space, you know. And when you go inside, I'm equally as proud, you know. We've got the folks, Stevie and Camilla from Pezula Interiors, Cape Town-based interior decorators who are very well known. They've done some fantastic work all over Southern Africa. Camilla's actually a Zimbabwean. And you can see it's still early days yet. They've still got lots of stuff they're putting into these rooms, but you can see the theme that they're following here. And it's quiet, understated elegance that blends in and fits in, nice and cozy and comfy, but really, really elegant and tasteful. And when you're inside the room, that's your view out, you know. And, you know, these rooms, obviously, they're very comfy and cozy inside, but that's the view out. And we decided to use big glass doors, big glass sliding windows so we can see out and just really get the feel for being up in the treetops. And it's really worked. It's really paid off. I'm really, really pleased with how it is. The rooms are got ensuite bathrooms. This is a picture that I took in Krombeck with my back to the loo, and I'm looking down. There's the shower down at the far end. That's actually just the undercoat there. That was still to be painted when I took that picture. And again, you can see it's well thought out, well laid out, and looks good, works, you know, with a shower indoors, a loo indoors, and a nice vanity there. But of course, these rooms, as cozy as the comfy as they are, I know with myself and a lot of people I've seen using them, you get drawn outdoors, and they've got these big decks outside, these veranda decks, and several of these rooms have got as much deck space outside as they do floor space indoors. And sitting out there at sunrise, having a cup of coffee, it's sublime. I can't tell you the serenity and the peace and what a great way to start the day, and you just feel so right, you know. And later in the day, as it warms up and it's more correct, you can have a nice cold adult beverage there, and it's you get the same kind of feeling of serenity and calmness. It really is a joy up there. I'm going to switch you across now to Firefinch. So Firefinch is across on the east. This is also a twin double-bedded room, and completely different in shape. You can see it's got a long straight staircase. This is more kind of straight lines kind of a room. But when you get up to the top there, you can see as you arrive on your veranda there and you walk through that treetops of that camel thorn tree into your room, you can picture what a wonderful feeling it is. And Tad said at the beginning, we all dreamed about being in treehouse when we were kids, but this is the real deal. You know, you can be a kid again. And for those of you who are interested, those support poles at the back of that room, those are the pipes within which all the water and electricity is piped in and out of those rooms. And they've also got an ingenious electrical fence that's vertical, okay, not a horizontal vertical fence, but a vertical one to protect those pipes from the elephants. And I saw it straight away during October, hot months in Hwange here. The shadiest place in Hwange National Park right now is underneath those tree houses. And watch the space for pictures next year, you know. This tree house is Goshawk, and it's the one between Firefinch and the main lodge. Again, different shape, different setup. This is one of the king bedded rooms. And these king bedded rooms have got an extra walkway with an eagle's nest, with an extra veranda. Very different, but also very, very cool. You can see the stairway there, easy to climb, landing halfway up. So even old buggers like myself can get up there easily, you know. And if you're standing on the eagle's nest at Goshawk looking back at your room, that's what you'd see. And doesn't that look cool and inviting? And I'm loving all the new staff that we've hired from our local communities down this end of Ward 3 there. They're coming in. There's Sita and Victor, locally hired. They're being trained by veterans at Camelthorne and Bomani and elsewhere. And they are so excited every time they see visitors coming down the road. They're so excited about what next year holds for them. They're so excited about what they can do. And they're so excited about their new careers. And I tell you what, you're looking for warm Zimbabwean hospitality. It's just happening in front of our eyes right here, you know. And of course, inside the room, king bedded room, again, very, very similar to what you saw elsewhere there. Simple, elegant, understated, but very, very comfy, very cozy. This one's got the carpeted and the blinds are down there. Those bamboo blinds, you can't see into them, but you can see out of them if you want to. And picture the view out there, you know, the view, you're lying in bed looking past your toes. You're looking down the walkway to Eagle's Nest. No, by goodness, there's an elephant down there walking through across the front. And look at that, inviting you got 2 verandas to go out and sit and have your coffee in the morning or your orange juice at lunchtime. On the far west of the property is Babla. And this is the view from the Eagle's Nest, looking back at the Babla room. Same thing. You're up in the trees, there's no doubt about it. You're in the treetops here. Very, very cool. And when you're sitting in the king bedded room at Babla and looking out, that's looking down the longer walkway down to the Eagle's Nest. And how cool is that? It just really is nice. And Babla is lots of special things about it, but straight away when we've got green wood hoopers nesting in the main trunk of that tree right below. So while you're sitting there in your room, you've got these green wood hoopers hopping around, foraging for food for their family down below. And it's an absolute joy, These bathrooms in the king bedded rooms are a little bit different. They've got an outside shower. The one on the left is I've taken the picture from the bedroom looking inwards. You can see the vanity and the loo and the inside shower. Then to the left, off outside the picture, is an outside shower. And the central picture here is the bathroom in Babla. It's got a twin vanity and it's got 3 doors leading off from that room. One is to the inside shower, one is to the loo, and one is to the outside shower. And there's the outside shower on the right there. You can see it. And lunchtime on a warm day, September, October, when things are warming up, lovely to have a nice, refreshing, cool shower under the trees there. And it's really a great joy. And, during the cold months too, nice hot shower in the treetops there, watching the steam rising up into the camel thorn trees, canopy of star overheads. Picture it, it's Meryl Streep and Robert Redford, rest in peace stuff. It really is. It's epic. And when you step out down to Eagle's Nest at Babla, man, it's big enough for a dance floor. You can have star beds out there already. We're planning the size of the star beds, how we're going to put them. Very easy to have private dining there. And you can even invite your friends over and have a private dining event up there if you chose to. So I'm loving these verandas and Eagle's Nests and walkways and things up there. It's they're going to be as much fun as the rooms themselves. And when I go back to a picture like this is the vision we had so many years ago, up in the treetops, looking down at elephant, with elephant down walking below us. And there it's happening, And straight away, what we're seeing and feeling is, I really have a sense that this lodge is going to be a place where maybe you might want to miss the odd game activity. You might want to miss the odd game drive, I can see us saying, hey, guys, game drives in the morning are going to be at sunrise. I can see people saying, meh, I don't know. I think I'm going to relax and enjoy the lodge and enjoy my treehouse a bit and skip a game drive in the morning, or maybe in the evening. And I'm quite sure it's going to happen, and we're seeing it already. All right, so those are the tree houses. I'm going to take you across to the family tent. Now, this photo here is of the family tent at Bomani. For those of you who've been to Bomani, are familiar with it. It's a great big tent. It's got 2 bedrooms, each with their own ensuite. It's got an indoor dining and lounge area plus a deck. And the one we're doing at Tum Tum is a mirror image of this, but we've done it better. We've got a bigger deck out front. We've got space for a splash pool, and it's got great views, only a meter off the ground. And, straight away, I can see where people who might use this lodge might be a multi-gen booking, and it might be grandma and grandpa are going to stay in the family tent around below and keep the smaller grandkids there, because we're not too cool with the grandkids being up in tree houses, but they'll have a wonderful time there where the older members or the middle-aged members of the family might go up into the tree houses. And this is still a work in progress as well, but look what Pezula Interiors are doing here for us. Look what they're doing with this elegant, understated, really cool. The top left picture there is of the lounge area with the indoor dining at the back there. Obviously, dining al fresco on the front deck is most likely. You can see original art, and you can see the bedrooms on either side of that central area, the doorways that lead to them. I'm going to take you across to the main lodge. The main lodge is also a work in progress still. For our soft opening, what we did is we've got the first decks up and we've stuck a stretch tent over the top, and already it's taking shape. But a couple of things I really like about it, but one of my favorite parts is the entranceway, and it's through an archway of ancient rubbing posts, elephant rubbing posts that have been polished smooth by the elephants, and you walk through that and you can't help but stop yourself from wanting to reach and touch a piece of wood that's been rubbed by elephants for perhaps hundreds of years. And then we've got an inside lounge, inside dining area underneath, going to be a roofed area, and then another deck a little bit lower down where you're going to be able to dine at lunchtime under a huge shady teak tree. And I can see al fresco dining under the stars there as well in the evenings, campfire under the stars, and a small pool also on that deck. Okay. And all of this overlooking these water holes below us, you know. And what's really cool about these water holes, and I'd forgotten it from old days when I used to game range down this part of the park, but there's all this red mud down there, and these elephants are just loving it. And we've got these rusty red elephants now walking around Tum Tum, and it's really going to be a signature photograph for us there. I put together this slide as well because this is something else that's really struck me. You know, I'm a bird lover, but I know lots of people who visit our lodges, maybe not bird watchers, but I've watched people sitting up in those tree houses with all the birds around them, and they're asking for a bird book within 30 minutes. And the woodland kingfishers have just arrived from Central Africa, inter-African migrants. You've got the green wood hoopers, they're feeding their chicks down below. These helmet shrikes, waxbills, violet-haired waxbills, lots of mapani squirrels hopping around, night apes hopping around these trees. And it's just a joy sitting up the treetops looking at all these things, you know. It just adds to the serenity and the calmness and this wonderful feeling of, man, I'm actually in a treehouse here. Birds up there, really, they see us differently when we're up in the treetops with it. I really sense it, you know. We're seen as much less of a threat. Okay, enough of lounging around the camp. We've got to get you out in activities, you know. And right from the beginning here, many of you who know Imvelo know we have these signature lookup blinds. And it's a steel reinforced shipping container that we bury down at elephant toenail level next to a water hole. We pipe water in it, so we've got a flush loo inside there. And this is the third one we've done. And man, this one at Tum Tum, this is going to be our best. Not going to be, it is our best already. We've lined it up beautifully with a sunset out the back hatch. We've got elephants coming in the evenings, getting these dramatic pictures with sunset. And in front of us, we've got the golden light on the elephants drinking in front of us. And lots of other animals too. The past months we've been using it. We're seeing sable, we're seeing wild dogs, we're seeing warthogs and giraffe. You can see them in the pictures there. All kinds of cool stuff. Herds of eland and all kinds of stuff coming in there. So I'm loving the Mandiseka lookup blind. 2 kilometers from camp. It's 5-10 minutes in the evening when you finish up in the evening and head back to camp. It's a short drive. And picture this kind of setting with an adult beverage in hand in the evenings, you know. And then, of course, the other activity that we're loving doing here is with our community rhino. You know, our community rhino conservation initiative. Rhinos reintroduced onto community land, guarded by the community for the benefit of the community. It's exciting stuff, you know. And you go down to Imvelo Sanctuary when you're at Tum Tum, and you can meet the Cobra Rangers there, and they're just as proud as the guys up at Ngamo at Sanctuary number 1. They've got a canine unit. They love showing them off to everybody. And, you know, I've done several activities there this year, but I did one just a few days ago, about a week ago, and man, we had fun. Because these rhino are different to the ones up at Sanctuary 1, you know. These rhino are a much bigger sanctuary. They're much wilder. We had to track them up on foot. We had to sneak up on the downwind side because they were a bit wary of us. And it really was exciting. It was a very different activity to the ones that we used to up at Sanctuary number 1. But I'm loving it, you know. Very, very cool and earning all kinds of benefits for the people in these communities in Sanctuary 2. Okay, and walks. You know, Hwange, we love walks. We love guided walks on the ground. And, you know, particularly during May, June, July, and August when the camel thorn trees are podding, the elephants wandering around underneath the camel thorn trees, it's a great joy, you know. And I'm a firm believer, if you haven't been on foot with the biggest living land mammal on our planet, you haven't been on safari, because it's just such a joy, you know. And I got this video here. This is actually of guests in a Land Rover. But, you know, every time you see those elephants at that time of year walking up to a camel thorn tree, lifting his head up, putting his trunk up, you know what's about to come next. And he's about to shake the heck out of that camel thorn tree to get some pods. And every time you see it, and every time you take a video of it, it makes you smile, you know. And but isn't that cool? When you're walking around the woods at that time of year, you can actually hear the trees being shaken. And, you know, as soon as you hear a tree being shaken, get the downward side, slip in, and, you know, watch an elephant just being an elephant. And this is going to be a great feature to what's going on at Tum Tum. And, you know, lots of other animals down there. The other day at the waterhole in front of camp, herd of 8 eland came down. That's not counting calves. They're calving right now. Lots of small calves at foot. Uh, Herds of sable. You know, the other day on a drive down to Tum Tum, we saw 3 different herds of sable. You know, night drives there. Obviously, lots of other cats. You hope to see the leopards there. There are plenty of leopards there. They're not habituated, not used to us yet, but we're getting sightings of them. And you know, picture lots of bush breakfasts at the end of a nice game drive or a nice game walk underneath those camelthorn trees nearby before you head back to your tree houses. And this picture here I love, because this was a picture we took at dawn about a month ago next to the hole we just dug for our new lookup blind. And a local pack of dogs came by. We already seen them, but I saw them there at dawn. And it's 2 adults and 4 pups. This is a starter pack. This is the beginning of a brand new pack of wild dogs. It's an older veteran male who I've known for many years. He's full of scars. He's teamed up with an alpha female now, and she's turning out to be a great mom. She's raised 4 pups already. They're 3/4 grown, and these guys are starting off. And I'm so excited about what this pack might develop into without any human interference over the coming years, you know. And that gives you an idea what sunrise looks like at Mandiseka Waterhole. And you know, a lot of you who are familiar with our part of the world know the Ngamo Plains. They are the largest savanna grasslands in the whole of Hwange National Park. And they're a 1 hour's drive from Tum Tum. And they're excellent in the green season, which means Tum Tum has some green season potential as well, you know. And you know, it's predator-rich environment. And interestingly, about a week ago, about 10 days ago, I had a group from California, actually from the valley, and we got them up and out half an hour after sunrise. They were dawdling, and it took us an hour to get up to the Ngamo Plains on a game drive, and we arrived there and straight onto the Chiz Boys, our famous Feet Male coalition. They just killed another wildebeest there, and we had a wonderful morning up there on the Ngamo Plains before we headed back to Tum Tum for lunch, you know. And the green season images there are going to be awesome, and you can do that from Tum Tum. But of course, this, ladies and gentlemen, gets to the heart and soul of what it's all about, you know, and this is about engaging with the communities previously disenfranchised around the boundary of Hwange National Park. And, you know, Imvelo, we've written a book on community, on real, authentic community engagements here, you know, and we're having great fun with it. I know already straight away the 2 villages that are closest to us, the villages of Dodana and Koba. The kids there have to walk 10 kilometers and 8 kilometers one way to get to school. I'm talking school bus safaris here. Every time we drive past, we're picking up school kids and taking them either to school or home from school. And you can imagine the joy and glee and the singing and shouting. They don't have to walk 10 kilometers through the sand, you know. I love stopping off at the community vegetable gardens that we've developed as part of our Rhino project. That's the Imvelo irrigated food garden. And what a great place to pick up a bundle of freshly grown kale to take back for your lunch as part of your salad, you know. And when you stop off at the curio markets we're developing at the villages down in this part, these guys haven't seen tourists before. And you know, one of the first visits I took to the Imvelo market a couple of months back, you know, every guest who bought something, every lady at the village stood up and clapped them. Every time they bought something, they got a round of applause, you know. And you can't ask for anything more authentic and real than that. Real gratitude, money well spent in the right places, you know. And really excited about how these things are going to develop over the coming months. All right, guys, how do you get to and how do you get from Tum Tum? One good way to do this is using Mac Air. You know, Mac Air has rewritten how we're getting around Hwange. You can fly to Vic Falls, currently to Linkwacha, about a 45-minute drive from Tum Tum Camp, but you're going to be using Mandiseka TFA airstrip by the start of high season next year, and that's a short 15-minute drive from camp. And either of those is about $400 per person, but of course, Mac Air also does the intra-Hwange hops, going from camp to camp and airstrip to airstrip for about $250. Another way to do it is by a game drive road transfer. So you can go from Bomani or Camelthorne and do the game drive through the park down to Tum Tum, about an hour and a half if you make it leisurely, or you can drive through the community land. Another great way to incorporate your transfer with a community visit, stopping off at the schools along the way, giving lifts to kids going home, and perhaps stopping off at the vegetable gardens and buying some fresh veg and stopping off the curio markets. And if you're coming to or from Josie, it's about a 3-hour drive. So it breaks up that trip, makes it a bit shorter. Okay, and the other thing you can do is use our beloved Elephant Express. Probably not practical to come to Tum Tum by Elephant Express because you're going to arrive a little bit late, perhaps after dark, but it definitely works very well departing from Tum Tum. And you get up in the morning, you do a morning game drive across the Ngamo Plains, and then you board the Elephant Express on the Ngamo Plains at about 10:30 or so, and you head off up to Det, where you can arrive there around lunchtime, and you can either carry on to Nahimba on another game drive or pick up a Mac Air flight from Hwange National to back to Victoria Falls. Okay, guys, that's it. Sorry, I'm only over time a little bit there, but I'm going to pass the ball over here to Tad because he's going to talk to you about rates. We've got some great specials opening up here, and he's going to talk you through them here. And he's going to then pass over to Gretchen. He's going to talk to you about Soar Roar. Good. Here you go, Tad.
Thanks, Butch. Really exciting to see this come to life. It looks beautiful. From the page when we met with the Treehouse Master, or the Nelson Treehouse guys here in Seattle almost a year ago, to seeing it come to life. It's really, really exciting. So yeah, opening specials for Tum Tum. It is soft. We are in a soft opening right now. So if you do have last minute guests, definitely come through to the res team at Imvelo. They can get your guests booked in during this soft opening. But the official opening special starts April 1st, and that is green season rates at 500 per person sharing. And then we have another opening special during the peak season, May 1st to June 30th at 755 per person sharing. That includes just about every single thing that you could possibly do and see in this area. It is exclusive of the Cricky Rhino Conservation Levy, which is $200 per stay per person, and that's a compulsory levy that is charged for guests at Bomani, Camelthorn, and now Tum Tum. But $200 to be able to walk within meters of a wild white rhino is a pretty small price to pay. And then peak season rates kick in past the special on July 1st next year through October 31st at 850 per person sharing. And then green season, the normal green season rates kick in at the end of next year at 570 per person sharing. And then also just want to remind everybody about the green season specials that Imvelo has at Tum Tum, but at all of their camps. In addition to the green season rates, they also have a stay 6, pay 5, which you can combine multiple camps, combine Tum Tum and Camelthorn or Bomani, which I think would be a really nice combo during the green season, as Butch mentioned. Kids under 16 and under stay free as long as they're sharing with their parents during the green season, and that is basically from November 1st until the end of April. There's no single supplement, so you get those single travelers who complain about single supplement charges. This is the time to send them during the green season. And then a free private guide with 4 or more guests. We will be sending out the rates, as well as on the right-hand side of your screen there, you see the fact sheet. So we'll send that out to everyone who's attended today, along with the recording. And any questions you have about the rates or the specials, feel free to pop them into the chat now. And then we'll let Gretchen talk a little bit about Soar and Roar as well, what she experienced when she was in Hwange in July. So over to you, Gretchen.
Thanks, Ted. I actually have to say we also stopped by the Tum Tum site in July and ate cheeseburgers out in the middle of the bush and looked at where the the tree houses were roped off, and we were trying to envision what it looked like. And I think we had an idea, but wow, it's really exciting to see it come to life. On our trip into Hwange, we did do what has become Soar and Roar in terms of our transfer. And I have to say, transfers on safari can be long and sometimes tedious. This was a fun day. Our group, half of us went on a falls tour, a sunrise falls tour, which was fantastic. Some folks hadn't seen the falls, and some of us had a leisurely breakfast back at Pioneers where we were staying. And then we convened and headed out to the airport for a late morning flight to Hwange National, which easy peasy. You stroll on out to the plane, and next thing you know, you're over the park and landing. And from there, we were collected by the team from Inganyana, which Imvelo had partnered with. We had a little bit of time before our Elephant Express departure, so we went to this local camp and sat out around the water hole enjoying cool drinks and some snacks before we were transferred again to the railway station at Det for our lunch, and then transfer into the park on the Magical Elephant Express. It was probably the easiest and most enjoyable transfer I've ever done, so highly recommended. It works when you have, it works no matter what, but when you have two guests or more that are staying for 3 or more nights at Bomani or Camelthorn, there is a special rate, and that's the Soar Roar rate, and that's 430 per person from VFA through that whole transfer that I just talked about. So it is a literal must do when you have folks coming into the park. I'll send it back to you, Ted.
Thanks, Gretchen. Yeah, it is a far better experience for your guests than doing the what has become a longer road transfer from Victoria Falls to Det, as the road has unfortunately deteriorated a little bit. So, and with Mac Air, as Butch said, now really changing the game when flying around Hwange, it's a no-brainer to when you're heading down to camp. And having the experience in the Elephant Express, how unique, how special, bit of a throwback to the golden age of rail travel in Africa, and lunch on the Elephant Express is always a special experience as well. And then you arrive about 5 o'clock in time for an afternoon, evening game drive right into Sundowners. So your guests can literally get off the train, hop into vehicles, and go see lions and cheetahs and whatever else is happening on the Ngamo Plains.
We were greeted by 22 lions on our arrival, so it was a good welcome.
That's a heck of a welcome committee.
Yeah.
That Ngamo pride is incredible. So that's it, everyone. If you have questions, pop them into the chat. And I see we've got a few there that we'll get to. I also just wanted to give you the heads up that we would love for you to come and visit Tum Tum or any of the Imvelo camps. And if you're not aware of the sales agent special that we have, you'll see it on your screen there. We'll also send this out in our follow-up. But basically, the first night at any camp is free of charge, and thereafter 185 per person, inclusive of everything. And we're happy to have you bring your friends and spouse, your kids along for that same rate each night. And kids 12 and under are 50% off that rate and can be free of charge during the green season. And then friends beyond your immediate family and spouse get 30% off the rack rates. And if we have an Elephant Express departure that's happening that aligns with your dates, that will also be FOC for you and your group. This is valid from right about now through June, but if you do have interest in coming at another time of year, definitely feel free to reach out to the Imvelo team, and based on availability, we might be able to extend that offer to other dates as well. So I think Hwange is one of those places that to really fully understand how to sell it, you have to come experience it. It is such a special place and a unique place, especially when you're visiting the Imvelo camp. So make a plan to come in 2026, come visit Tum Tum and some of the other Imvelo lodges as well. All right, we're going to look at a few questions here. Butch, the first one from Jennifer, our friend at Kensington. Looks amazing. What kind of wood are those decks made out of? You're on mute, Butch. There you go.
Hi, Jennifer. Sorry.
First time on Zoom.
Well, the tech dinosaur couldn't find his unmute button. So those decks are made of teak, Zambezi teak. One of the bottlenecks we've had through the building process was we insisted upon getting teak wood from deadfall teak. There's a couple of the sawmills that use only deadfall. So we had to rely on a supply of that teak and deadfall, and then it had to be dried as well. So that was a continuous bottleneck for us because of we insist upon it, and they're gorgeous. They're gorgeous, and I hope they're going to last forever. But very, very pleased with how they turned out. And we've set them onto steel as well, so that we hopefully don't have a lot of interference from the local insects. And number one, and secondly, we don't have to use any kind of poison. We're loving the birds here. I don't want to use any kind of poison, any kind of wood there to protect that wood. So the teak is a hardwood; it protects itself. Set it on steel, and the steel is actually supporting a lot of those very old trees. So I'm looking forward to these things being not a burden on these trees, but actually an asset to these trees. Hope that answers it.
Yeah, Butch, and actually that reminds me of something we talked about earlier, which was the technique that you all learned from Nelson Treehouse in how to attach these steel pieces and this wood to the existing trees, and your effort to not cut any major limbs or maybe any limbs off of these existing camel thorns. Can you just talk very briefly about that whole process?
Yeah, so the most interesting thing to us was how the heck do we attach these tree houses to a tree? And in fact, these guys at Nelson Treehouse have really developed it. They've written a book on it. What they talk about is high carbon steel, similar to the kind of steel that you might pin a broken bone in your limb from a skiing accident or some such. There's lots of people who are walking around with steel in their bones, and that steel stays there forever. They're talking about the same kind of steel. We're using that going into the trunk of a tree, very, very carefully positioned. And that stays in there and it becomes an artificial limb. They call it a tab. The tree grows around it and it doesn't rust in that tree. And now there's a steel limb upon which you can perch another beam and build your tree house. And part of the reason that these things are such odd shapes all the time and such different shapes is because every single tree is different. So that's been one of the other headaches for both the builders and the interior decorators. Is every time you've got to measure a window, there's a new size, and every time there's a new bedroom, it's a different size, quite simply because of the different shapes, because we insisted upon, we didn't want to cut any of the limbs out of these ancient trees. We didn't want to uh, add any more hardships to these trees. We want them to live for as long as possible.
Awesome. So Louise has a question about the transfers between camps and what do those look like logistically. Yes, Imvelo is doing those transfers, Louise. And I think it depends on which camp you're transferring from. But Butch, maybe just talk about what the transfer would look like, as you did briefly, between Bomani and Camelthorn to Tum Tum.
Yeah, so a typical intra Invelo transfer is a game drive. You're going to be on a game drive vehicle with a guide, and you're going to drive through the park to the next camp. And along the way you're going to see stuff and stop and take pictures and talk about stuff. So it's a game drive. Um, if you are thinking about linking with camps from another company, for instance, Wilderness or ABC or the Hyde or somebody, usually what we do with those sister companies next door to us is we have designated halfway points where we meet. So we'll take you on a game drive off to the designated halfway point between us and Linquasha, for example, or Somalisa, for example. And then one of their vehicles comes and meets us at that place, and we do the handover at a specific time. And these days with WhatsApp and Wi-Fi and Starlink and stuff, it's very, very easy to arrange as seamlessly as possible. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, and if you're going to be coming, so if you're combining it with Nahimba, you could have a couple of options. You could fly on Mac Air, which is Butch mentioned is 250 roughly intra Hwange flight, or you could go via Elephant Express and then take a game drive then from the Bomani siding to get out to Tum Tum. So lots of different ways to put it together. As Butch mentioned, this is a camp that may be a place that people want to just chill a little bit. So at this stage, we're thinking it might be a nice finisher as well for a Hwange safari. Come to Tum Tum, relax on your deck, check out the elephants, and slow down the pace a little bit. But it is early days, so we'll kind of see how things work itself out over the next few months. Thanks, Julia. Thanks, Tom. So glad you got to see the site when you were there earlier this year. Natalie, we'll see you in Hwange. Haven't been back. You haven't been since 2001. It's about time you get back. A lot has changed. Very exciting. Julie, any other questions here that I'm missing? Gretchen or Vanessa? Looks like we've covered everything. Perfect. Well, if you have other questions, feel free to send any of us an email at Kusini or through to Butch or the Imvelo team, and we will send out a follow-up with a link to the recording, with the rack rates, the specials, as well as the fact sheet for next year. And keep an eye on Kusini's Instagram and Velo's Instagram for more photos and videos of what's happening at Tum Tum as the season develops. But we really appreciate you all taking the time to join us and learn about wow, that was a pretty exciting heart emoji there, Angela. We appreciate taking the time to learn about Tum Tum and this amazing dream of a safari camp coming to life. So congrats, Butch. We're super excited to finally get over and see it, hopefully sometime soon. Take care, everyone.
Thanks so much, guys. Thank you.
Day.
Thank you so much. And have a good day or a good evening, depending where you are. Thank you.